I posted this story before, but it got removed, possibly because I didn't make the malicious compliance clear enough. So here I am trying again. Back in my early 20s, I worked at a supermarket. I was a pretty reliable employee, never late, often arriving early, and I rarely called in sick. In fact, I hadn't called in sick for 9 months. The last time I did, my manager sent me home. One night I was up all night, swinging between burning hot and freezing cold. I was feverish, and, well, let's just say I was having a rough time. At one point, around 2 a.m., I found myself on the toilet with my head in the sink, utterly miserable. I must have passed out because the next thing I knew, it was 7 a.m., and I was due to start work at noon. Clearly, that wasn't happening. So I called my manager, Steve. Steve had a reputation for being a real jerk. He never believed anyone who called in sick, except for his buddies, usually other managers. He often called in sick himself, but we all knew it was usually because he was hungover. The conversation went like this. "Hey Steve, sorry, I can't come in, I'm sick." "With what?" he snapped. "I don't know, I think it might be the flu. I've been up all night being sick, and I have a fever." "Don't be stupid. If you had the flu, you'd be completely knocked out. I need you in. Come in or you're fired." "I can't. I just told you I can't stop vomiting. I passed out." "Either come in or bring a doctor's note, or you're fired." Here's the thing. In the UK, you can legally self-certify for up to 5 days. That means you can tell your employer you're sick without needing a doctor's note. It's also illegal for them to demand one during that period. I knew this, but I was terrified. This was during the recession, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. So I got dressed, almost passing out in the process, and trudged to the doctor's office, which was a 25-minute walk away. After sitting in the waiting room for over an hour, I finally saw the doctor. She was furious that I had come in. "You're not supposed to come to the doctor's office when you have a cold or flu," she said. I explained what happened with Steve and how he had threatened to fire me. I was struggling as it was. Her anger shifted from me to my manager. She asked if I got sick pay, and when I said yes, she said, "He wants a sick note? Does he? Okay, I'll give him one." Now, Steve just wanted a note confirming I was sick, but my doctor wrote something much more pointed. "My name has come to the surgery because manager name has insisted she come in, despite this being illegal, due to being forced to make this unnecessary and dangerous trip while ill, and having a fever of 39 degrees C. I am signing my name off for 2 full weeks to recover. Had my name been allowed to self-certify as is the law, she might only have needed a few days. However, due to the stress of this situation, she now requires 2 full weeks. She is not to be permitted to work until date 2 weeks later." The doctor mentioned she would have signed me off longer, but this was the maximum she could do without further evidence. So instead of just a few days off, I was now signed off for a full 2 weeks, and I'd be paid for it. When I got to work, one of the duty managers saw me and asked what I was doing there. I explained the situation, and they agreed to help me go to Steve's office. I handed Steve the note. He looked worried and tried to say I wasn't being serious about firing you. Well, when you growled it down the phone, it sure sounded serious. The duty manager declared they were going to drive me home. It was clear Steve wanted to argue, but thankfully, he had the sense to back off. The duty manager drove me home, made sure I was okay, and then returned to work, where they informed our union rep about what had happened. Steve ended up having a disciplinary hearing and received a severe reprimand and a warning. He tried to argue that he never said I'd be fired, but the duty manager backed me up, confirming they heard him admit it, I felt better after a few days and enjoyed my 2 weeks off, fully paid, soaking up the nice weather. Meanwhile, Steve had to work overtime because we were short-staffed. Thanks to my doctor, instead of just a few days off, I got a nice 2-week paid vacation, and Steve received a final warning. All because he insisted I get a doctor's note.